Hey, second grade, welcome to our reading session. I'm going to go ahead and get started today by talking about our goal. So our goal for today is going to be discussing how characters respond to problems. We really want to learn a lot about our characters in our books, much like we learn about a good friend. And one of the ways we talked about how we can do that is by watching how they respond to different problems. Before spring break, if you remember, we had all talked about different scenarios we might find ourselves in, and we discussed how each one of us would probably respond in a different way. One of the scenarios I gave you was if you remember the story about how if you had money and it was a hot summer day and you guys were so thirsty or wanting something cold, to eat or drink, and you saw an ice cream truck. So you were going to take your money over there and you walked all this way. You were hot and sweaty and you got up there and you got to look at all the different flavors and you decided and picked your very favorite kind, and you had your ice cream cone. It was a double scoop in your hand. You turn around and you started walking in the sand to go back to your spot on the beach, and all of a sudden you tripped and stumbled, and there your ice cream fell right onto the floor or right onto the sand. And then we talked about, oh man, that's terrible. How would you have felt and what would you have done? And I don't know about you, but I remember lots of different people had some funny ideas. One was Ethan, who had said, he didn't care if it had fallen into the sand. He would have eaten probably the part that didn't get touched by the sand anyway and would have been fine. Charlotte, I think, said that she would go ahead and explain what happened to the ice cream man and see if he would give her another one. Melina said that she would go ahead and ask her parents for more money to buy another one. And then Maddie was really creative and said she'd probably go down on the beach and search around to see if she could find some coins and go buy herself another one on her own again. Anyway, that told us a lot about each person in our classroom, which was really fun. We had another story or a scenario about what would you do if you were at a park and you had a friend with you and your friend was being picked on. We talked about the way you would respond to that problem as well. And some of you said you would probably stop. You'd go find a grown-up to talk to. I know one of you had mentioned you would just stand up to the bully right then and there and use your words. Some of you had some different ideas, which might not have been so great. But anyway, we laughed and had a good time talking about those different situations. And again, what that said about each of us as a person. So today, we are going to go ahead and focus on two characters, and I went ahead and sent you a link so that you could have listened to the story called Tomorrow. It's Frog and Toad's story, and we're going to go ahead and read together the first 2 pages, and we're going to talk about how each of those characters responds to a problem in the story and what that says about them. But again, let's go ahead and take a peek at our goal for today, which is we're learning about how characters respond to problems. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my computer on, and I'll show you here. Got our Frog and Toad story right there, but you're going to just go ahead and listen as I read. So I'll go ahead and start on page 1. So the story is Tomorrow. Toad woke up. "Drat," he said. "This house is a mess. I have so much work to do." Frog looked through the window. "Toad, you are right," said Frog. "It is a mess." Toad pulled the covers over his head. "I will do it tomorrow," said Toad. "Today, I will take life easy." That's pretty funny. If we think about what's going on there, I don't know. I'm going to turn my screen here. Let's see if you can look at Frog and Toad. So if you notice that Toad is in the bed, and then Frog is the one with his head poking through the window. So I want you to think really quickly about what you notice in the first part of the story. How is Toad responding to what's going on? What is happening in this story? I'm going to give you just a couple of seconds to think about it. And let's pretend you have a sticky note in front of you. And because that's one of the things we've been practicing too, is that when we read our stories, we use our sticky notes to jot down our ideas. So just get your pretend sticky note out and your pretend pencil, and you're going to think about, how is Toad feeling in this story right now? What is the problem that's going on, and how is he responding? Give you just a couple of seconds to think about that. And go ahead and pretend like you're going to jot it down on your sticky note. We're going to talk about what you thought when we get together in our Zoom meeting. I'm going to reread that passage again, and I want you to listen, and I want you to think about how Frog is responding to the situation instead of Toad, and what the difference is. So if we start at the beginning sentence, it says, Toad woke up. "Drat," he said. "This house is a mess. I have so much work to do." Frog looked through the window. "Toad, you are right. It is a mess." Toad pulled the covers over his head. "I will do it tomorrow," said Toad. "Today I will take life easy." I'm going to turn my page here. Frog came into the house. "Toad," said Frog, "your pants and your jacket are lying on the floor." "Tomorrow," said Toad from under the covers. "Your kitchen sink is filled with dirty dishes," said Frog. "Tomorrow," said Toad. "There's dust on your chairs." "Tomorrow," said Toad. "Your windows need scrubbing, and your plants need watering." "Tomorrow," cried Toad. "I will do it all tomorrow." Let's think about those two characters, and they're both definitely responding to this problem very differently. I'll be curious to hear what your thoughts and feelings are about it all. Make sure that you bring with you a piece of paper and a pencil. And we're going to go ahead and do an activity together with this book, with this story. One of the things we're also going to think about too is the chapter book that you've been reading. Not the book series chapter books, but the other one that you brought home over spring break. I want you guys to go ahead and find in your own chapter book places, a couple of spots where your character is encountering a problem. And I know that most of you, we sent home sticky notes. So if you could grab your sticky notes, and one of the things I'm going to have you do is take those notes, and you're going to find a spot where a character is having a problem. You're going to go ahead and take that sticky note and stick it right there on that page. And then you're going to get a piece of paper, and you're going to write to me what's happening in the story. What is the problem? And how is your character responding to that problem? I think I'm going to ask you to find 3 places in your chapter book where you can find a problem that your character is going through or encountering. And you're going to talk to me about how they responded. And then we're going to talk about what does that say about them as a person or about their character. Have fun with it, and I'll talk to you in our Zoom meeting. Bye-bye.